Something just happened to me. What's up, you mutts? Something just happened to me on radio. I spoke to the Raccoon Whisperer, James Blackwood. If you don't know the story, go to my Twitter, go to the Barstool Twitter, go anywhere on the internet. You'll see the viral video of this man from Nova Scotia who feeds 25 raccoons on his back porch with hot dogs and grapes and cookies. And these little raccoons, which are not inherently ugly animals. They're ugly because they're dumpster diving trash animals. But they have their little paws and they have their little black eyes and Kung Fu Panda, and they're cute.
They're funny. They're just funny looking.
They're like these little, they're like kind of like puppies. They're like, they're trash pandas.
Have you seen the viral video where one jumps out of the trash can? That was hysterical. Like, you had to laugh at that.
And like Kung Fu Panda is a thing for a reason, because there's nothing inherently, like, you look at it and you're like, this is cute. Now the problem is that they're dumpster dwellers and they get rabies and they'll fucking kill you. But in Nova Scotia, out in the woods, they're not like that. So you can see this video of this guy who's being dubbed the Raccoon Whisperer because he's like, oh my, oh Lord, look at this. There's a whole bunch of you tonight, aren't there? And he's just feeding them hot dogs, just throwing them, and they're just like munching away. And it's fucking so wholesome and nice. And then you dig a step deeper, as I did, and I learned that he's James Blackwood and that he does it all because of his late wife. His wife used to feed them. She died in 2003, I believe. And her will was like, take care of the kids, take care of the raccoons.
He's been doing this for 17 years?
I want to say 2000, because I think on radio I said 20. I think it's 20 years.
Oh my God.
And usually, I'd imagine with his wife even less. He said usually he gets about 8. That night, that video, he had 25. So he said it's been different for COVID, which I guess makes sense if you're like a dumpster dweller and there's not food in the local town. You're not in the garbage cans. But I also think that it's just the operation is growing larger and larger. James said, in honor of his wife, he does it. He feeds 20 dozen hot dogs per night. He makes peanut butter sandwiches for all of them with 2 loaves of bread. And he has 400 pounds of dog food a week. And that he just gets, it just recently went viral, but he always has had a little bit of a following. And that he uses the money from YouTube to break even. It's an operation he can fund the food.
But he's been on YouTube. He's been on the internet for a while, not just recently.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay,
but this
cool.
was the first time it popped because there was so fucking many of them.
I was gonna say, because you can't afford that unless you're rich already. So if at least he's making some money.
He gives them shots. He gives them treatments. He knows them. He knows each individual raccoon. I said, how do you know which one you're giving a treatment to? And he was like, what do you mean? They're mine. I raised them. How do you know which kid got his vaccinations? They look different to me. I know which one's which. But, I mean, these things, first of all, they're all well-fed as fuck. They're all fat boys, chonky. They're looking well-fed for the winter because he said they all just die because of starvation. So he's trying to keep them alive. Got 25 of them. Now, and this is what happened to me. I showed it on radio to Za because I was like, A, this is some white people shit. Letting raccoons crawl all up on you and snuggle up on your shit. And 2, I hate to say it, but one day these raccoons are going to turn on the Raccoon Whisperer and maul him to death. My thought was just there's only so long that you can be around wild animals before they go wild on your ass. And out of nowhere, the phone rings on CCK and it's James Blackwood. At first, I thought I was being pranked, and maybe I still did. Maybe there's no real way to verify.
He sounded real. He got me.
If he made up all those stats about poundage and all that shit, then you're the best fucking prankster ever.
Do we know if the number was Canadian?
Oh, I should have looked at that. I didn't look at that. But he just
got a 646.
Yeah, right. 212. But he just was so nice. And me being the bag of shit that I am, I'm like, yo, let's go, dog. We're going to make you huge. The Raccoon Whisperer, you're going to have a TikTok that's going to get millions of followers. We're going to sell merch. You're going to have a show on the Animal Planet by tomorrow, homeboy. We are golden. And he's like, nah, man, not in it for anything. I don't want money. I don't want fame. He said people donate gift cards to him. He sends them back. All he wants is to be able to feed the raccoons, which he says I do because of my wife. And I'm just like, oh my God, he is the polar opposite of me, right? Yeah. I'm just like, I'm a raccoon. I'm a dumpster dwelling rabid animal, you know? I'm this city slicker who's just a bag of shit. I'm afraid of fucking wild animals. I would never do this. I certainly would capitalize. I would want to make money. I would want to get the shows. He's out in the wilderness. I mean, he is the anti-KFC in every sense of the word.
It was funny when you were talking to him. It reminded me of the parable, the Mexican fisherman, where where like the people come down and visit him, and they're like, "Oh, you have to turn this into a business." And at the end of the story, it's like, so you can retire to a beach in Mexico, which is like where he already is. It's like if you're doing what you already like, you don't need to make money at it.
I am so jealous of the people with I'm going to rephrase that because it sounds negative what I'm about to say. I was going to say the people who don't have ambition, but like that sounds like a shot at people like James Blackwood. And it's not that. It's just that like his ambition, he's fulfilled. I guess what it is I'm jealous of the people who know their ambition, like it, achieve it, and are okay with that. The people who don't want more, I am so envious of. Because, you know, if you told me 11 years ago that we would have half of what we have now, I'd be like, oh, we're golden. Like, feet up, living on the couch, like, waiting for retirement. And instead, I'm like, well, even like with 1 Minute Man, I'm like, you know, I used to be excited if a video did 1 million views. Now I'm like, 1 million? This is trash. Like, I just instantly want more every second, every step of the way. And I would be like, you know what? My wife wanted me to feed these raccoons, but I'm going to get a show on television and I'm going to feed every raccoon. And like, I would just always want more. And if you're that way, it's a sad realization. You'll never be satisfied. You'll never be successful, or no, you'll never be happy. You'll be successful. But, you know, all I've ever wanted was like $10 million, and then you get 10 million and you want 11. And it's like, well, you know, then you get to $100 million on your deathbed and you're mad that you didn't get to 200 million. It's like, you're never going to fucking be happy. This guy, when he finishes feeding those raccoons, he is completely full. And he wakes up in the morning excited for the night feeding. The whole day, he's happy to just get ready to feed the raccoons. And it makes his dead wife happy. It makes him happy. And he's good. And I could not be more jealous. I don't want to feed raccoons in Nova Scotia. I want to metaphorically feed raccoons in Nova Scotia.
You know, if you ever achieve this,
Corona says find your beach. Right. What's my raccoon in Nova Scotia?
I was gonna say, if you ever achieve this and you write a book, it'll be based around the story of finding your raccoons, finding your raccoons to feed.
What's my raccoon feeding every day at 6 p.m. to keep them alive and keep my dead wife happy? What is that?
It's not answering voicemails.
Yeah, I mean the problem is if I was a kid and was like, I want to be a podcaster, and I always wanted that, and then I did it, I would probably have some sense of accomplishment and like finality to it. But when you don't have any dreams, when you're too bleak and too negative and too whatever to have dreams, then you can't achieve anything, and then you can't reach nirvana. I don't have dreams. I never had dreams. I mean, I once had a dream of being like a Sports Center anchor, and I guess in a way, like I kind of do that, but I don't know. Once I got there, I was like, okay, cool. You know, like it's kind of similar to James Blackwood. The very reason why we wanted to donate money to him and why I think he could have a zillion followers and millions of dollars is because he's genuinely the type of guy who says, no, I don't want the money. I don't want the donations. Don't do it. And that makes the audience be like, well, now I really want to give you money. Mm-hmm. The same reason I am where I am is because I'm like, I don't really care. You know? So that's, you know, I'm just like, well, whatever. Yeah, I guess that's a good thing that we did. Like, okay, that was successful, I guess. Next. And then I'm just going to keep doing that forever. And because I am that way, I'm never going to be like, yes, we did it. I'm just always going to be like, okay.
Well, it's weird because I think you're hyper competitive, and we've just surrounded ourselves with some good competition.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am hyper competitive in the sense of like I'm never going to get complacent, but I'm not hyper competitive in like I am very at peace with like, you know, Dan's show is so successful, but I could not do what Dan does, so like right. I'm okay with that. You know, it's like you know, just different styles. It's just like if would a rapper be jealous of like a country singer? It's like, you know, yeah, you're bigger than me, but like I can't. That's not
right.
how
We're different things. Yeah.
I'm okay with that. So like I'm not like comparing myself every minute. You know, Dave is like Dave's Dave. I was never gonna be, you know, what Dave could be. When people are like, you know, you're like riding Dave's coattails. I'm like, fuck yeah, I am. So I'm not competitive in that sense, but I am competitive in the sense of like, what's next? Who's next? Let's go. So, you know, it's weird. Again, even that is kind of like paradoxical, where it's like, well, what's going on? Like, how do I address this? You know?
Yeah.